Hi, good morning, everyone. My screen looks a little different today. I always love how Facebook will change things on me. And when I look at my screen, I'm like, what did you do this time? There's a little menu bar down at the bottom, and it's now kind of highlighted a little differently. So anyway, it's just a little different. Always throws me for a loop, keeping me on my toes. Never get too complacent with the technology. You just have to go with the flow. So anyway, I'm going to blab just a little bit at the beginning because I know it takes a while for people to get on here. And I'm sorry if you're watching this recording because when it's a recording, I'm blabbing on for a couple of minutes and you're probably right there at the beginning and ready to go. But for my live people, hello, good morning. It's so good to have you here. It's Casing Tuesday, so we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my week last week. So my son is, it's winter break for people up here in the Boston area. And my son right now is in Nicaragua. So that's kind of cool. He's on a high school trip there. It's an ecology trip. So they're doing all sorts of cool things. They were on a permaculture farm. They got to go look at spiders. Oh my gosh. I saw the sketches of the spiders that they were going to see. If you don't like spiders, it's probably not the best trip to go on, but there's this little island on Lake Nicaragua called Ometepe. And they went and they collected spiders. I don't know what they did with that. I will have to ask afterwards. There's a picture of my son with a coconut. I don't know. You know, it's just really cool. And right now they're on in a little town called Ostional, which is on the coast of Nicaragua, and they they're trying to do a lot of ecotourism in Nicaragua, so that's kind of cool. And they have a mangrove right near there, and so I think they're helping with the boardwalk. I think they're going to be doing some sort of painting or something like that, but we'll hear all about it when they come back. But that's kind of been my week. I'm an empty nester for the week, and so my husband and I are hanging out, and I made my husband empanadas, which is like this big process. It's from a Chilean heritage, and he loves them. So that's what I did some fun things this week with my husband. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, that's my blah, blah, blah for today. And so let's get to the business of what this video really is about. It is Casing Tuesday. It's the day when we take a card out of one of the current Stampin' Up! Catalogs and we copy it. Basically, most of us don't copy it exactly, although that is perfectly okay. We give the card a makeover. We take the basis of the card and we change it up. We maybe change the stamp set, the colors, the paper. You can do whatever you want. It's kind of neat. One of the things I love about doing that is that it takes me less time to case a card than it does to come up with a card completely from scratch. So it's a really good thing if you're, new to stamping, you have your catalog in your hand, this catalog or a Stampin' Up! Catalog. Use those samples as a starting point for building your own cards. And you can change things out or you can copy them exactly. And just through the process of doing that, you will get better at stamping. And for me, it gets me out of my comfort zone because sometimes we have a whole group of bloggers that join us and I'm not always the one picking the card. So sometimes people will pick a card that I probably never would have done if it hadn't been for that person who picked it. So it's a really good challenge for us as well. So I'm going to flip the camera around so I can show you what we'll be casing, and then I'm going to create my card. And if you have any questions, whether you're on this live or if you're watching the recording, please go ahead and post them and I'll see if I can get to them on the live recording. And if it's on the live session, and if it's a recording, I'll see if I can answer you afterwards. So let me do the little flip around. Just give me a second. There is my view this morning. We have sunshine. I love that because we've been kind of cold and wintry, and this week we're going to be spring-like. But that doesn't mean that we won't get back to winter again. So. But I'm going to take this week if that's what it wants to give us. Spring weather is awesome. All right, so here's the card we're casing today. Let me see if I can get it. It's this card right here. It has a circular focal point and a little greeting coming off the side. I like this card. I think it's a pretty easy one to case. If you don't have circles, you can use a square here, or like whatever shape, an oval or whatever. It's pretty easy to substitute. Find a stamp, you know, that matches the size of your focal point pretty well. So I think that's a pretty easy card today. That, by the way, that's on page 41 of the Occasions catalog. And here's the card that I created. I pretty much copied the whole layout. I even tried to, I don't know if you can see it on this camera very well, but I copied the kind of the dotted background. I didn't use paper, but there's a stamp in this stamp set. This is the Petal palette stamp set. It's an awesome stamp set. Look at all the different images in it and the matching greetings. This is kind of like an all-inclusive set because it's got a lot of things that you can use. So yesterday I used this little chickadee with this branch and this flower, but I was like thinking, maybe I should use this rose. I want to show, you know, that this set is very versatile. And then I'm using the From the Heart greeting and this dotted stamp right here. So let me show you how I did that. I think the easiest thing to start off with this card is, I think we should do the focal point first. So let's do that. I need my big shot for that. These are the Stitched Shapes framelits. If you don't have these, this creates like a nice little stitch shape around your circle. If you don't have these, you could also use just a plain circle. I think it would look nice as well. I've got a piece of thick Whisper White, and I'm going to take the largest of the circles from that set, and I'm going to run it through. Renee says she just got this bundle. It is a great bundle. Actually, I bought, this is one of the first things I bought out of the catalog. You know why? It was because of the chickadee. That's the main reason I bought it, because it's so cute. So that's, see the little stitching? I love that. So just need to put that beside me. And then I'm going to need a piece of scrap paper because some of this might come off the edge. This is the rose step. This is my Memento Tuxedo black ink pad, and I am just going to ink this baby up. Make sure I've got good ink coverage. And then to get this on here, it's kind of bigger than my circle. I'm going to, the longest part, those are going to kind of be off equally. And then this leaf, I'm going to make sure that it comes on entirely. So I'm kind of centering it this way, but I'm making sure that my leaf manages to squeak on there. So it kind of comes out like that. So then what I did, I'm going to just move this scrap piece of paper away so you can see a little better. I'm using my Stampin' Blends. You know me, I love these. So I started off with my lighter Cherry Cobbler, and I'm just going to lay down Cherry Cobbler on all the rose portions. I'm going to come back in with my light after, my dark afterwards. Actually, that's a leaf. I just put Cherry Cobbler on my leaf, but that's okay. We're going to blend that out in a second. This is a kind of not a very distinct rose, so if you make some mistakes in the coloring, it's not going to be a big deal because it's not got a real clear definition to it. So I'm coloring standing up, which is a little hard sometimes to do. I hope you color sitting down. But for Facebook Live, for some reason, I'm standing up. All right. For some things, it's easier to stand up when you're demonstrating, and some things it's easier to sit down. So then I'm going to come in with my dark. So I'm going to try and decide, I want my greeting to come up top here like this, or I could have it coming off here like that. But I think I like this better. So I'm going to put darker down near the bottom. So I've got my darker cherry cobbler, and I'm kind of just shading down here at the bottom. Maybe the center of the rose is a little bit darker. So I'm going to hit that, come down here and kind of shade the bottom part of the rose, and then kind of hit the centers a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. And then come in with my light old olive and hit all the leaves. These markers are really easy to use. We don't have them in too many colors yet, but I know in the future, well, I think in the future we will have more colors. But right now they've chosen some really great colors that we use a lot. So even though we don't have all the colors in our arsenal yet, it's okay. See how I kind of made that mistake right there with the cherry cobbler? It's hard to notice that when you're not, when I don't point it out to you. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to blend that mistake out a little bit with my darker old olive, and I'm just kind of hitting the bottom of the leaves to kind of give them a little bit of depth. Get the tip down here. That looks pretty good. Yeah, and that little spot, you can barely even notice that. So all right, so there is my focal point all done. Let me think, what am I going to do next? I think let's do the base of the card next. So we're going to need a card base. I've taken Night of Navy, and I've cut it to 8.5 by 5.5. And then I've folded it along the score line. And usually, I have my bone folder kicking around here. I use my bone folder to smooth this down. I'm going to need my Night of Navy ink pad. And this stamp right here has all the dots on it. It fits across the short side pretty well. If I did the long side, it's not going to reach. I put dots all over this one. So I'm going to do it, just kind of keep stamping it up the top. This is the front of the cardstock, as you can tell. So just ink that up and then stamp it, ink it up again, stamp it. It's a random dot pattern. So, you know, don't worry if you're overlapping a little bit or if it's further away. It's pretty easy to get this random dot pattern on here without too much fuss. If these dots were all lined up, then we would have to use a special process. Then we need to use our stamparatus. Okay, I'm just gonna hit the top a little bit because, see, there's some bald spots. So I'm just going to kind of blend those out by hitting them. So there is the front. That was pretty easy. You could also use paper. but I didn't really have a paper that I liked that matched. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And then I looked at the stamp set and there were a bunch of dots. And the dots on the original sample, this, I don't know, I think this was, this is paper or card base. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's definitely paper. So on this, you know, I just didn't have that paper, so I just went with something different. So then with bringing these two together with the doily and the focal point, I'm just going to use some snail adhesive, and I'm going to put this on the back. And I'm just going to center that on here. Anyone else doily challenged? I have such a hard time using doilies, and I was looking for something a little extra to put around here because I think they used a slightly smaller card base than a normal size, and I just needed a little bit something extra to build this up. And I'm like, let me see if I can do a doily, and a doily fit. So I was like, yay, I can use a doily, because I have a hard time using them for some reason. Some people use them on everything, and I'm like, yeah, not so much. Okay, I'm going to use some Tombow on this, if I can get my Tombow to go. My Tombow's not going this morning. All right, so my trick with Tombow that's not working, I've taken a paper clip and I bend out one of the straight ends, and then I use that as a device to clean my the gunk out of the top of my glue, and then that seems to work, and I never use that paper clip for anything else again. Let me see. Okay, so I want to have a white spot here that I can put my banner off of, and also make sure my shading is good. So I'm just going to add that on here. It's already looking pretty good. So then we have, we need a little banner piece. And so to get this to the right size, I've cut it to 3 3/8 of an inch by 1/2 an inch. And I lost my punch. I was going to grab it beforehand, but I forgot. So this is my triple banner punch, or banner triple punch. And I'm going to, what I'm going to do for this is I'm actually going to flip this over, and I'm going to slide this down the center. When you have a piece, like a 1/2 inch piece that doesn't quite fit in the slot, if I stuck it down here, sometimes it doesn't look centered on the back when I flip it over. See how it can just that little bit, because it doesn't have the guide. So if I have a smaller piece, I kind of hold it there and I turn it around and I eyeball it. I make sure like that little V looks centered. So it does, and then I punch it. All right, so now I need my little from the heart stamp, and let me bring my black ink pad back in. Ink, ink, ink. See, I'm kind of centering this on the banner. Let's see if that one looks good. Yep, that's pretty good. If it doesn't look good the first time, you've got like one more shot, so turn it over and use the back. And where did my gingham go? I love this gingham. This makes me think of spring. This is the Night of Navy 1/2 inch gingham ribbon. So to kind of see how long I need to make it, first I'm going to cut a little V into the ribbon. So how I do that is I'm going to fold this ribbon in half lengthwise, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the little V cut. Okay, so it's like cutting on an angle, and then that turns it into a V. Okay, so then I can come along here and I can see, okay, I need just a little bit more, so I'm going to kind of eyeball where I needed to cut right there, and that should work for my little banner. Okay. So then, tear and tape. Of course, it's also across the room. Oh, having a morning. All right, so to get this on here, I'm going to take some tear and tape, put it on the back, lay this out, remove the backing. I have no fingernails right now. I need to put some clear nail polish on them because this time of year, no matter what I do, everything's so dry. It's wearing on my fingernails. So anyway, I need to add this here. So I'm just going to kind of angle it off a little bit. And it's easier for me to do it here and first before doing that on the card. So I kind of get it situated how I want it off the card. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put another layer of tear and tape on the back. And then let me see if my fingernails will manage to get this liner off. Yeah, it's coming. There we go. And then, because I've already got both of them on there together, I can just really easily just kind of position this and then add it on like that. There is the card. I think that was pretty easy. And you know, I like that you can do this with so many different images. If you go to the Casing Tuesday Facebook group, and if you don't know what that is, look for the link in the description of this video. Go there, have a look at how many different ways people have done this card. I saw this morning, I saw some really cute images used. I saw someone else who did a different type of rose. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this focal point. If you're wanting to copy my card kind of exactly, those doilies are perfect for layering on the back. And especially if you don't have the stitch shape framelets, because the doily background has a lot of detail on it, it will make it will fancy up your circle a little bit. So if you have that, or maybe you have a scallop circle that you can put behind that. So there's a lot of different ways, lots of different ribbons you can use back here. Some people didn't like the banner up at the top. Put it down at the bottom instead. Or maybe try it having the card go like in the vertical position or the portrait position instead. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can use this this layout. So I just love that. Let me see, I'm going to scroll through real quick before I sit down again to see if there's any question. So Barbara says she had the same problem with the triple banner punch. Yeah, I got smart after a while because I was preparing a bunch of kits, make and take kits for my downline, and I kept screwing up. So I learn the most about like how to make things better when I'm preparing a lot of packets or making like 20 thank you cards or something. That's when I learned the most about stamping, because if you're going to be doing like 20 little banners and you know half of them are turning out badly, after a while you're like, okay, I have to figure out how to do this correctly. So that's how I learned that little tip, Barbara. Karen says she loves the ribbon. Yeah, this ribbon, it's so beautiful. And if the Night of Navy is too dark for you, we also have Smoky Slate. So it's a nice, pretty spring ribbon. I think we'll get a lot of use out of it coming up in the spring season, you know. Anyway, let's just see. Okay. See if anyone else has anything to say. Oh, Catherine, you had snow last night? No way. You live in a place that doesn't get a lot of snow. Janine said she likes the point about new stampers and casing. It's a great thing for both new stampers and for old stampers. Okay, let me flip us around. Now you can see my ceiling. Let me sit. Oh, Okay, I'm covering my camera. There I am. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you're going to try this card this week because I think it's a great card if you're just jumping in. If you don't know where our group is, remember to look at the description of the video. If you want any of the supplies that I used for this card, you are wondering what the heck I used. If I didn't explain myself when I'm talking, sometimes I don't always think, oh, I need to say it's this exact thing. Go look at my link to my blog post. Down at the bottom, I have all the measurements and I have all the supplies that I use for those cards. There are clickable links that go directly to the Stampin' Up! Store, so you can just go in and see the different products that I used. And then I hope you will join us because I think it's fun. It's neat because when you post your card, usually you'll get some comments on it, and so that's kind of neat too, because we're a little bit of a community, and there's lots of samples to go look at. If you're kind of like, I don't know what I would do, go look at what other people have done. And then, you know, if you're not comfortable, you know, starting from scratch, some people copy my card exactly, which is kind of flattering, and I love that. Or, you know, change it up a little bit, but it's a great way to, you know, just jump in and try your hand at some designing. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you back here next week. Bye, guys.